Every day, a quiet decision is being made that shapes the direction of your life. It is not made in moments of crisis. It is not made during great opportunity. It is made in the ordinary, unnoticed hours of routine. And that decision is simple: comfort or growth. One moves you forward. The other holds you exactly where you are. And most people choose comfort so often that they forget they ever had a choice. Comfort feels harmless because it is familiar. It feels safe because it asks nothing from you. It does not demand learning. It does not require discipline. It does not challenge identity. Comfort simply says, stay as you are. And slowly that invitation becomes a trap. Because while comfort costs nothing today, it charges everything tomorrow. Growth, on the other hand, always feels uncomfortable in the beginning. It stretches your habits, it questions your excuses, it exposes your inconsistency, it asks you to trade short-term ease for long-term power. And that trade is what separates those who build wealth from those who merely talk about it. Being broke is not only a financial condition, it is often a pattern of choices driven by comfort. Comfort chooses rest when discipline is needed. Comfort chooses entertainment when education is required. Comfort chooses delay when action is demanded. And over time, these choices compound into limitation. Most people do not fail because they lack opportunity. They fail because they become too comfortable to pursue it properly. They wait until conditions are perfect. They wait until motivation feels strong. They wait until uncertainty disappears. But growth does not wait for permission. Growth rewards movement, not hesitation. Comfort tells you to sleep in. Growth tells you to rise with purpose. Comfort tells you to spend now and worry later. Growth tells you to invest now and celebrate later. Comfort tells you to avoid the hard conversation. Growth tells you to face it and mature. Comfort protects the ego. Growth transforms the future. The tragedy is not that comfort exists. The tragedy is that so many people build their lives around it. They organize their days to avoid stress instead of organizing their habits to build strength. They protect their feelings instead of protecting their future. And slowly, the gap between potential and reality widens. Wealth in every form is built by those who repeatedly choose the harder option when the easier one is available. They do not enjoy discomfort for its own sake. They simply understand that discomfort is temporary, but regret has a long memory. Each time you choose comfort over growth, you train your mind to resist effort. Each time you avoid discipline, you weaken your ability to command yourself. And self-command is the foundation of success. If you cannot direct your own behavior, the world will gladly do it for you. Comfort is expensive because it steals the muscle of effort. The more you avoid challenge, the harder challenge becomes. The more you avoid responsibility, the heavier responsibility feels when it finally arrives. The wealthy did not become strong after success. They became strong before it when no one was watching and nothing was guaranteed. Growth is rarely dramatic. It happens in quiet choices, reading instead of scrolling, planning instead of drifting, practicing instead of postponing, saving instead of spending unnecessarily, speaking honestly instead of remaining comfortable in silence. These small disciplines may feel insignificant today, but they quietly design tomorrow. Comfort tells you to measure life by how easy it feels. Growth teaches you to measure life by how much you've improved. Comfort asks, how do I feel right now? Growth asks, who am I becoming? And the answer to that second question determines income, opportunity, confidence, and direction. Many people say they want wealth, but their daily habits say they want convenience. And life always pays according to what you practice, not what you promise. You may promise yourself success, but if you practice comfort, comfort is what you will master. Comfort delays effort with the illusion of timing. I'll start tomorrow. I'll get serious next month. I'll focus when things slow down. But tomorrow is a moving target. It always stays one day away. Growth begins the moment excuses end. You cannot grow into wealth while living in emotional convenience. Every level of progress requires a new level of responsibility. And responsibility always feels heavier before it feels powerful. Discipline always feels restrictive before it feels liberating. But once built, it becomes the tool that frees you from struggle. Comfort weakens urgency, growth sharpens it. Comfort whispers that there is plenty of time. Growth reminds you that time is always running, whether you are ready or not. And every year spent in comfort quietly raises the cost of change. The wealthy do not become wealthy by chasing money. They become wealthy by choosing growth when no one is forcing them to. They build skill when others seek ease. They build structure when others seek escape. They build habits when others seek relief. And one day, the results become visible. The strength that was built in discomfort begins to pay interest. The discipline that once felt heavy becomes automatic. The effort that once felt hard becomes identity, and comfort, which once enslaved them, becomes a choice instead of a craving. You do not eliminate comfort from your life. You simply stop allowing it to be your leader. You let discipline lead. You let purpose decide. You let vision outweigh mood. And in doing so, you reclaim control over direction. Stopping the daily habit of choosing comfort over growth is not about punishing yourself. It is about respecting your future. It is about deciding that your potential deserves more than convenience, that your dreams deserve more than delay, that your life deserves more than what feels easy in the moment, because the truth is simple and unchanging. What feels easy now often feels painful later, and what feels difficult now often feels easy later. You choose where to pay, and the wealthy made their choice early. Distraction is not loud destruction. It is quiet erosion. It does not attack your future in a single dramatic moment. It chips away at it slowly, invisibly, daily. And that is precisely why it is so dangerous. Most people don't lose their dreams overnight. They lose them minute by minute, scroll by scroll, delay by delay, excuse by excuse. Every day, your focus is being taxed. By notifications, by opinions, by noise, by comparison, by entertainment that never ends. And what most people fail to realize is that whatever you give your attention to repeatedly, you give your life to eventually. Attention is not neutral. It always builds something. The question is whether it is building your future or feeding your escape. Distractions feel harmless because they feel small. 5 minutes here, 10 minutes there, a short break that turns into an hour, a quick glance that becomes a nightly habit. But small leaks sink great ships, and small distractions quietly sink great potential. Most people are not broke because they lack opportunity. They are broke because their focus is scattered. They work hard for short bursts, then disappear into distraction for long stretches. They start with energy, but finish with none. They build momentum with effort and then hand it over to comfort through distraction. Distraction trains the mind to avoid discomfort, and discomfort is the doorway to growth. When the moment becomes difficult, the distracted mind immediately looks for relief instead of resolution. It reaches for the phone instead of the problem. It seeks noise instead of nuance, and over time, the ability to concentrate, to endure, to build quietly begins to weaken. You cannot compound wealth with a fragmented mind. You cannot build skill with a scattered focus. You cannot rise with discipline while living in constant interruption. Every interruption resets momentum. Every reset delays mastery, and mastery is where income grows. Distraction is especially dangerous because it disguises itself as rest. But true rest restores strength. Distraction only delays fatigue. You do not rise stronger from distraction. You rise duller, slower, less patient, less sharp, and over time, that dullness becomes the new normal. The distracted mind becomes addicted to stimulation. Silence feels uncomfortable. Stillness feels boring. Focus feels heavy. And when focus feels heavy, people avoid the very work that would change their lives. They stay busy but not effective, active but not advancing. Most people think their problem is lack of motivation. In reality, it is lack of control over attention. Motivation comes and goes, but attention, when trained, becomes power. The wealthy did not become wealthy by being endlessly motivated. They became wealthy by learning how to stay focused when motivation faded. A distracted person is always starting, never finishing, always planning, never executing fully, always learning, never applying long enough for results to show. They know a little about many things, but master almost nothing. And income flows to mastery, not to scattered knowledge. Distraction also destroys patience. The mind becomes trained to expect instant reward, fast entertainment, quick pleasure, immediate feedback, and the longer-term rewards of discipline begin to feel too slow, too distant, too demanding. So people quit before results arrive, not because the results were impossible, but because waiting felt uncomfortable. Wealth is built on delayed gratification, and distraction is the enemy of delay. It teaches the nervous system to crave the immediate instead of committing to the meaningful. It trains people to trade the future for the moment, and the moment is always a poor investment compared to the future. Distraction also creates emotional instability. The constant switching of attention weakens clarity. The mind becomes restless, the emotions become reactive, confidence becomes dependent on approval, and a person who depends on approval will always struggle to build independence. The wealthy are not immune to distraction. They are disciplined about limiting it. They do not rely on willpower alone. They build boundaries. They design structure. They remove temptation before discipline is required. Because they understand that discipline is strongest when the battlefield is prepared, they decide when they will consume and when they will create, when they will communicate and when they will focus, when they will relax and when they will build. And those decisions, made consistently, protect years of progress from being stolen by minutes of impulse. Distraction does not only steal time, it steals belief. It convinces people that they are trying when they are actually avoiding, that they are busy when they are actually drifting, that they are working on it when they are avoiding the sustained effort that real change demands. And slowly, confidence erodes, not because the person lacks ability, but because deep down they know they are not giving their best attention to their highest goals. And self-respect always follows the trail of effort. You regain power the moment you reclaim your attention, the moment you decide that your focus will no longer be rented out to whatever is loudest, flashiest, or easiest, the moment you decide that your future deserves uninterrupted effort. Attention is the seed of achievement. Whatever you place it on grows. Place it on distraction, and distraction grows into dependency. Place it on discipline, and discipline grows into freedom. The wealthy are not rich because they avoid pleasure. They are rich because they control priority. They do not let amusement outrank ambition. They do not let noise overpower direction. They do not let the trivial dominate the essential. You do not need more hours in your day. You need fewer leaks in your focus. You do not need more talent. You need more sustained attention. You do not need more opportunity. You need longer obedience to the one already in front of you. When distraction loses its grip, momentum returns. When momentum returns, confidence rises. When confidence rises, effort multiplies. And when effort multiplies consistently, results are no longer a matter of luck. They become a matter of time. Failure is loud, it hurts, it embarrasses. It leaves marks you remember. But excuses are far more dangerous than failure will ever be. Failure teaches, excuses numb. Failure forces correction. Excuses create comfort in stagnation. And while failure may slow you down for a season, excuses can quietly lock you in one place for a lifetime. Most people fear failure more than they fear being stuck. And because of that fear, they build excuses as emotional shelter. They say it's the economy, the system, the timing, their background, their age, their luck, and with every excuse, they hand away a little more control over their future. Because the moment you give the reason for your situation to something outside of you, you also give away your power to change it. Failure says, I tried and fell short. An excuse says, I didn't really try, and here's why that's okay. One preserves dignity while pushing you forward. The other preserves comfort while holding you back, and comfort, when it replaces responsibility, becomes very expensive. Failure may cost you money. Excuses cost you discipline. Failure may cost you time. Excuses cost you character. Failure may bruise your confidence for a moment. Excuses slowly erase it from the inside. Because deep down, you always know the difference between being defeated and giving yourself permission to stop trying. The wealthy understand this distinction early. They do not excuse themselves out of effort. They take the hit, take the lesson, and take the next step. They would rather look inexperienced than irresponsible. They would rather look slow than look finished. They know that failure is a temporary condition. Excuses also distort time. They make people believe that delay is harmless, that waiting is neutral, that postponement has no cost, but delay is never free. You pay for it with missed compounding, lost confidence, reduced tolerance for effort, and shrinking belief in yourself. Failure may cost you once. Excuses charge interest. You can recover from a bad decision. You can recover from a lost opportunity. You can recover from a public mistake, but recovering from a long career of excuses is far harder because by the time a person realizes what they've done, the habit of avoiding has already matured. The wealthy do not wait until they feel ready to act. They act, and readiness catches up. They do not wait until fear disappears. They move forward, and fear learns to follow instead of lead. They understand that courage is not the absence of fear. It is the refusal to negotiate with it. Excuses are negotiations with fear. Failure is the price of courage. You do not lose when you fail forward. You lose when you explain backward. You do not fall behind when you stumble. You fall behind when you decide that stumbling means stopping. The moment you remove excuses from your life, pressure increases, but so does power. Accountability grows heavier, but so does self-respect. The load increases, but so does capacity, because responsibility always expands the person who accepts it. The wealthy take ownership even when ownership hurts, especially then, because pain that is owned becomes strength. Pain that is avoided becomes weakness, and here is the quiet truth most people never confront. Excuses don't only keep you broke financially. They keep you broke in confidence, broke in courage, broke in discipline, broke in self-belief, and wealth of any kind cannot grow in a soil that is constantly explaining why it cannot grow. You are not defeated by failure. You are defeated the moment you decide you no longer need to try honestly. Failure says, try again, but wiser. Excuses say, you were never meant to win anyway, and one of those voices builds wealth. The other builds a prison. Money can be lost and earned again. Opportunities can disappear and return in another form. But the absence of discipline quietly damages every area of life at once. Lack of money creates temporary pressure. Lack of discipline creates permanent limitation. One affects your resources, the other reshapes your identity. Many people believe their problem is financial. In truth, their problem is behavioral. They struggle not because they lack income, but because they lack command over habit. Money only magnifies what discipline already built or destroyed. Without discipline, more money only means faster mistakes. Discipline is the invisible structure that holds progress in place when emotions shift. It is what carries you on days when inspiration disappears. It is what steadies your effort when results are slow. It is what forces consistency when comfort is tempting. And consistency, not intensity, is what changes financial destiny. Most people wait for discipline to feel natural. It never does at first. Discipline feels unnatural because it demands maturity. It asks you to delay pleasure. It asks you to say no to what feels good now for what will feel great later. And the mind resists that trade early on because the future feels distant while comfort feels close. Lack of discipline does not announce itself as danger. It enters quietly as permission. Permission to overspend. Permission to skip effort. Permission to procrastinate. Permission to ignore structure. And each permission lowers the standard just enough to make weakness feel normal. Undisciplined money habits create constant pressure. Undisciplined health habits create slow decline. Undisciplined thinking creates emotional instability. Undisciplined time use creates permanent busyness with no deep progress. And over time, a person becomes exhausted not because life is hard, but because their life is unstructured. The wealthy understand that discipline is self-respect in action. If you cannot respect your own commitments, the world will not respect your ambition. Every broken promise to yourself weakens trust in your own word. And when self-trust collapses, confidence soon follows. Most people believe that freedom is doing whatever they want, but the wealthy learn that true freedom is being able to do what should be done even when they don't feel like it. The person who can command himself owns something greater than money. He owns direction. Discipline builds predictability in progress. It turns success from a hope into a habit. The wealthy do not guess whether they will show up tomorrow. They already decided last night. The battle is not fought in the moment. It is settled in advance through routine. Lack of discipline keeps people living emotionally reactive lives. Their behavior shifts with mood. Their spending shifts with impulse. Their work ethic shifts with fatigue. Their goals shift with fear. And a life led by reaction will always feel unstable, no matter how much money passes through it. Discipline holds the line when emotion tries to cross it. It locks the door when temptation knocks. It reminds you who you said you would become when the moment tries to rewrite that identity. Discipline does not remove desire. It places it under command. You still feel temptation. You still want ease. You still feel resistance. The difference is that those feelings no longer dictate action. They inform you, but they do not rule you. Most people think discipline limits joy. In the short term, it sometimes does. But in the long term, discipline creates far more joy than impulse ever could. Impulse gives momentary pleasure with long regret. Discipline gives temporary discomfort with lasting reward. The wealthy are not disciplined because they lack feelings. They are disciplined because they refuse to be led by them. They understand that emotions are weather, not maps. You don't navigate by storms. You navigate by direction. Undisciplined people often believe they just need a break. What they actually need is structure. Rest without discipline leads to laziness. Rest with discipline leads to renewal. Work without discipline leads to burnout. Work with discipline leads to progress. Discipline also protects peace. When priorities are clear, guilt disappears. When systems are built, stress weakens. When habits are strong, chaos retreats. The mind relaxes when it knows effort is consistent. Anxiety thrives in inconsistency. The wealthy know that discipline is not built through grand promises, but through small repeated actions kept on boring days. Anyone can be disciplined when motivation is high. The test comes when the excitement fades and the effort remains. Most people quit when effort remains. Discipline creates quiet confidence, not the loud kind that seeks validation, but the steady kind that does not panic when pressure rises. It knows that work will be done. It knows that delays will be handled. It knows that effort has been paid in advance through habit. Lack of discipline forces people to live with constant urgency, last-minute stress, last-minute effort. Last-minute decisions and urgency may look like energy on the surface, but underneath it is fear of falling behind. The disciplined person is rarely rushed. They move with intention. They plan before panic. They prepare before pressure. They rest without guilt. They work without whining, and this rhythm compounds calmly into stability. Money without discipline quickly turns into noise, debt, confusion, and fragile confidence. But discipline without money eventually creates opportunity, clarity, and trust. One path is loud and short-lived. The other is quiet and lasting. The wealthy chose the quiet path. They chose to wake when it was inconvenient, to study when it was boring, to save when it was tempting to spend, to build when it was easier to escape. They did not become disciplined after success. Success arrived because discipline was already in place. Discipline is not cruelty toward yourself. It is loyalty to your future. It is the decision to stop negotiating with the life you said you wanted to build. It is the refusal to let short-term mood cancel long-term vision. Lack of discipline does not just keep you from wealth. It keeps you from peace. It keeps you from momentum. It keeps you from believing your own promises. And a person who cannot believe his own word is always unstable. You do not rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your discipline, and when discipline is absent, every goal becomes a wish. But when discipline is present, even ordinary effort becomes extraordinary over time. And that is why lack of discipline is more dangerous than lack of money. Because discipline creates money, money does not create discipline. Most people believe that destiny is shaped by rare, dramatic moments. A lucky break, a big opportunity, a sudden change, but the truth is far quieter and far more demanding. Financial destiny is not created in highlights. It is created in habits, in the small decisions that seem too ordinary to matter, in the daily choices that feel insignificant in the moment but become unstoppable with time. No one wakes up rich by accident. They wake up as the result of thousands of quiet decisions made when no one was watching. What to do with an extra hour, what to spend and what to save, what to study and what to ignore, what to tolerate and what to change. These decisions do not feel powerful today, but they vote for the direction of your life every single day. Every decision you make is casting a vote for the person you are becoming. One vote does not decide the future, but thousands of votes always do, and most people are casting their votes without awareness. They choose based on mood, on convenience, on impulse, and then they wonder why the results feel out of their control. Small decisions feel safe because they feel reversible. Skip one day, spend a little extra, delay one more time, but repetition gives weight to what once felt light. What you repeat becomes what you trust becomes what you rely on, and what you rely on eventually becomes your identity. Wealth is not built in a single financial move. It is built in the way you think about money daily, in how you treat discipline when no one enforces it, in how you handle discomfort when quitting feels easy, in how you honor commitments when excuses are available. Most people fail to respect small decisions because there is no immediate penalty. Skipping effort today doesn't break anything tonight. Overspending once doesn't collapse the future tomorrow. Procrastinating this week doesn't feel like permanent damage, and because the consequences are delayed, the behavior feels safe. But delayed consequences are not canceled consequences. They are simply scheduled, and when they arrive multiplied. The wealthy understand this early. They do not wait for motivation to make good decisions. They build rules. They build structure. They remove emotion from behavior as much as possible. Because emotion fluctuates but systems remain. They decide in advance how they will use their time, how they will manage their money, how they will protect their focus, how they will grow their skills, because when decisions are made in advance, discipline costs less. Willpower is expensive, systems are efficient, small daily decisions shape how you see yourself. When you keep promises to yourself, even small ones, self-respect grows. When you break them repeatedly, confidence silently erodes, not because others notice, but because you do. And self-respect is not an emotional luxury. It is an economic force. People who respect themselves invest in themselves. They protect their future. They demand more from their behavior. They tolerate less from their weaknesses. Small decisions also shape your tolerance for delayed reward. Every time you choose discipline over impulse, patience strengthens. Every time you choose progress over pleasure, long-term thinking sharpens, and long-term thinking is the real engine of wealth. Short-term thinking asks, what feels good now? Long-term thinking asks, what builds power later? Most people know the right answer, but knowing and choosing are not the same. Destiny is not shaped by knowledge. It is shaped by obedience to what you already know. The wealthy did not discover secret information. They practiced common principles with uncommon consistency. They did not always feel confident. They chose consistency anyway. They did not always feel motivated. They chose structure anyway. They did not always see results. They chose patience anyway. Small decisions also train your nervous system. They teach it whether struggle is normal or whether comfort is mandatory. If you repeatedly escape effort, effort begins to feel abnormal. If you repeatedly embrace effort, effort begins to feel familiar. And what feels familiar eventually feels safe. When discipline feels safe, progress accelerates. The tragic part is not that people make bad decisions. Everyone does. The tragedy is that many people never change the pattern. They repeat the same small mistakes and wait for a different outcome. But destiny does not change from hope. It changes from behavior. Wealth does not respond to wishing. It responds to repetition. Small decisions also determine who you listen to, what you tolerate, what standards you accept, whether you surround yourself with progress or excuses. And over time, your environment begins to echo your daily choices back to you. If you choose growth daily, growth will find you. If you choose comfort daily, comfort will confine you. The future is not built by what you do once when you are inspired. It is built by what you do repeatedly when you are tired, bored, uncertain, or unrecognized. That is where destiny is negotiated. Many people wait for life to force them to change. The wealthy force change long before life demands it. They adjust early while the cost is small. They correct fast while the damage is light. They refine constantly while momentum is on their side. Small decisions compound whether you believe in compounding or not. They compound in skill, in confidence, in income, in health, in relationships, in clarity, in peace, and one day, years later, people will call the results overnight success. but there is no such thing. There is only accumulated obedience to small disciplines, and here is the most powerful truth of all. Financial destiny does not require perfection. It requires direction. You don't need to win every day. You need to stop losing the same way every day. Improve one habit, protect 1 hour, remove one excuse, save one small amount, learn one valuable skill. Strengthen one broken routine, then repeat. That is how destiny turns slowly, quietly, and permanently. No one sees these changes at first. That is why they are so powerful. You are not competing with others at this stage. You are reprogramming your future, and one day, when the results arrive, people will ask, "How did this happen?" It happened one decision at a time. Not loudly, not suddenly, but relentlessly. That is how financial destiny is built.